Good day to you, everyone, and thank you again for joining us for another podcast episode, Discovering Grace. And I'm excited to bring you this next devotion where we discover a little bit more, talk a little bit more about faith and grace. I know in the last podcast, we introduced faith and grace and the relationship between the two. And this time we're going to get a little bit deeper. And so let's get into it. We're going to start this time in Romans chapter 1, verse 17. And it says this, "For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith." And it's talking about the gospel. Romans chapter 10, verse 17, it says, "So faith comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes through the message about Christ." 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 12, "And that is why I suffer these things, because I am not ashamed, because I know whom I have believed, and I am persuaded that he is able to guard that what has been entrusted to me until that day." That's pretty exciting. The entire Christian walk is designed to be lived by faith. The just shall live by faith. Every step of every day, every issue we face is to be addressed in reliance upon the Lord. This path of trust accesses the grace that God desires to shower upon us. Remember, faith is what corresponds with grace. Therefore, it is of faith that it might be according to grace, Romans 4:16. Trying our hardest does not ensure God's grace working in and through us. Attempting to be passive does not bring forth a display of His grace. However, humbly trusting in the Lord, whether taking action or patiently waiting, will always result in His grace undertaking for us. Yet, how does one specifically learn to live by faith? Romans chapter 10, verse 17 is very helpful here. "So then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God." As we get into the scriptures, desiring to hear from the Lord, faith has opportunity to be exercised. Through the word, God speaks to us about Himself and His ways. He tells us of His plans and purposes. He provides insight into reality. He drives away illusions and misconceptions. He offers promises and assurances. As we are thereby getting to know who the Lord is and what He wants to do, we are stirred to trust Him to work these matters into our lives. We face trials or opportunities, and we trust Him to be faithful. We learn of our own inadequacies and are driven to His sufficiency. We look to the Lord in daily personal issues, and He proves faithful. Through it all, our faith continues to be exercised and expressed in response to what the Lord is revealing to us and is doing for us. This is God's grace at work, because His word is the word of His grace. Acts chapter 20, verse 32. This process illustrates the relational reality of faith. Faith is not something we can produce. It results from getting to know the Lord more and more. Paul spoke of this pattern in part of his testimony. "I know whom I have believed, and am persuaded that He is able to keep what I have committed to Him." 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 12. As the years passed, Paul was getting acquainted with the Lord, in whom he had first believed. Then, as this relationship with Christ developed, Paul was increasingly convinced of his master's ability to handle any matter that he would entrust into his hands. All the while, this faith that was developing in Paul was drawing upon the resources of God's grace. I love the correlation that he really draws there. And what it does is it disarms any desire or any need to want to strive. It removes the striving because we recognize that if I stay in the place of faith towards God, which is my perspective of how I view the world, I view the world through the lens of faith in God, knowing that God has revealed himself. God has spoken in creation and revealed his nature, revealed his desire, revealed his ways, his character, his will. He's revealed these things to us, right? Through his prophets and through the scriptures, but primarily through Jesus, because Jesus is the visible image of the invisible God. So that has been revealed to us so that we might know him and we might know how to believe him and know how to trust him, so that our faith is not a striving faith. It is a resting faith. It's a believing faith. It's an expectation that we have that God will keep his word. And then when we declare his desire, his will, his purposes, when we meditate on them, when we live in them, when we approach them in faith, grace is working in us to make that which we believe our reality in the present. And so continue in faith. May you continue to access the grace of God as you walk humbly and as you increase in your ability to trust God. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time. If you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, like, and share this video.